You're listening to The Mountain Spirit, a podcast of Christian Appalachian Project. I'm a firm believer that we're all connected by our shared humanity, and that finding that intersection sometimes just means having a conversation. Today, we're joined by Melonie Effler, affectionately known as Momma Mel. She is a proud East Tennessean, a passionate home cook, and a YouTube creator who's made her mission to bring families back to the dinner table. Her Appalachian roots run deep, and her recipes are filled with love, laughter, and the kind of warmth that feels like home. September is Hunger Action Month, and we're shining a light on the power of food not only to nourish, but to connect, comfort, and create community. Today's guest is someone who embodies that spirit beautifully. Hi, Melanie. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Tina. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, this is our season finale, and we could not think of a greater guest. We've had a great season 8, and you are our cherry on the top. So we're so glad that you're here today.
Thank you.
Well, as I
Oh,
mentioned in the intro, Melanie, September is Hunger Action Month. CAP works a lot around that, as well as many charities around the country to spotlight food insecurity. This is a time to focus on the fact that many of our neighbors are in need. And when it comes to food, they just don't know where they might put food on the table. So we know food is critical to any family. As someone from the region that really leans into food as an avenue to bring people together, what is your perspective on food insecurity?
well, number one, I want people to know, and I put this in every description box of every video I make, is that food insecurity is nothing to be embarrassed about because it happens to anybody and everybody from time to time. And it's not anything to be embarrassed about, but everybody deserves to be able to feed their family. Especially as a mom, that's important, at the question, "Hey mom, what's for dinner?" We want to answer that question. So don't be embarrassed by that, and it happens all walks of life, all ages.
Yeah.
As my kids were growing up and I was helping with their classes at school, volunteering, of course, I saw, kids, but we have a lot of senior citizens that struggle with food insecurity. And, whether it's not being able to afford it or not being able to get out and get access to food. We have a lot of generations now that in our area, anyway, multi generations in one household now.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
grandparents, and we got away from that. But we have a lot of that now that grandchildren are in homes with
And
grandparents.
sometimes they might be just trying to stretch that Social Security check or the food that is already just very little for the adult, but then trying to take care of grandchildren, sometimes even great grandchildren. And
Yes.
that can really tax it. I love the fact that you said it could really happen to anybody. I remember when
Mhm.
my husband was working on his PhD, so he was in grad school. So our finances are really strapped, and there are times that we really had to depend on services. Sometimes we didn't know, like, how you're not going to have the 7 course meal. You're just trying to make sure maybe you got the macaroni and cheese and some hot
Yep.
dogs, but you're going to try to make sure that your kids have something on the table. And so it really can happen to anyone at any stage of life. And then you're right, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I think having that conversation and trying to say to people, it could be any of us, and
Yes.
that being able to ask for help from your neighbors, that's like, we are there to help, we're there to lift people up. And so I appreciate you putting a
Yeah.
point on that.
Yeah. We are each just, one diagnosis, one lost job, honestly, one paycheck away from not being able to afford what we need.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you think about food insecurity in the region that you love and call home, East Tennessee, how would you
Mhm.
encourage people to help or to get involved in helping their neighbors?
Well, I think the first thing that we all need to do is open our eyes and see that there is a need. Sometimes we have our blinders on going through life. Everybody's busy and, we just don't necessarily see the need. So we got to open our eyes, number one, and see that there is the need there. Checking on our neighbors. Also, if you want to help and get involved, if you want to donate to organizations that are already established and doing the work. like the Christian Appalachian Project. In our area, we have a Second Harvest Food Bank. Now, I could go to Kroger's and buy a bag full of food, but if I gave that same money to Second Harvest Food Bank, they have buying power.
Absolutely.
They can stretch that farther than what I could.
Yeah, we need to have you be the poster child for us, Hunger Action Month, because we try to convey that no matter what community you're in, we serve Eastern Kentucky. You're talking about a food bank that serves East Tennessee.
Mhm.
That the buying power that a pantry has or a food bank has, yes, it's a good work to go and be able to make a donation of canned goods or box things out of your pantry. But that buying power
Yeah.
really allows, and it allows that pantry to meet that need. Maybe they need fresh produce that month and maybe not as many canned goods, or maybe they need peaches instead of peas. It really
Yeah.
allows them to meet the needs of the families that they're serving.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with volunteering either. Hey, we don't
Absolutely.
if we don't have the money, your time, they need
Absolutely.
volunteers.
I love that. And that's a big need. I'm sure that lots of pantries in particular need, like when they're packing up commodity boxes for seniors,
Mhm.
or lots of places also do backpacks for kids at school. Having those hands and feet to come in and
Yeah.
give a couple of hours really takes a lot. And a lot of nonprofits probably don't have the staff to
Yeah.
do all of those things consistently, and just having community volunteers really make a difference.
Yeah. And I do encourage people to, in my description box and in the videos, I say if you are having trouble to reach out to local churches. You don't have to be a member of that church. If your
Yeah,
church is small, or even if you don't go to church, that's what the church is there for.
yeah, yeah,
We're not going to turn anybody away.
right.
But you if you see a church on your way somewhere and they say they have a food pantry, reach out
Yeah,
and go,
absolutely.
and your local governments, contact them and find out where the resources are in your
Those are
area.
some great practical tips. I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about what you get to do in your Mama Mel role. You describe yourself as a proud Appalachian and a fifth generation East Tennessean. What were some of your favorite meals when you were growing up?
Like any Appalachian, pinto beans, soup beans, as we call them, um, that was always a staple at our house. Beans and cornbread, fried
Yeah,
potatoes, greens, fried potato cakes, fried cornbread.
you're
Um,
making me hungry. You're
I
making me
know.
hungry.
Me too. Just, it was nothing fancy, but it was, like homemade potato soup. And I'm not talking about like we make now, loaded potato soup. I mean, it was milk and potatoes and butter and onions, It's very simple, but they were so good. All the veggies, that we have here, corn, green beans, kale lettuce, all that stuff.
So tell me then, what's a dish that you would say sums up for you Appalachian home cooking?
I think one of the most popular recipes that I get asked about all the time is fried potato cakes.
Uh-huh.
And if you have not ever had a fried potato cake, you just take leftover mashed potatoes. And it is so Appalachian because you're using leftovers. And of course, my family, generations back, they were farmers in Cades Cove back before it was National Park. So it was corn and potatoes
Uh-huh.
you know. So you're taking, what you've got, potatoes, leftover mashed potatoes, put a little flour with it, some egg to bind it all together. Now we put cheese and, bacon bits and stuff like that. But it was basically potatoes and onions to begin with. Put a little flour in there and fry them in a cast iron skillet with some oil.
There
And
you
there's
go.
nothing any better than a fried potato cake. And I love this, they call it Georgia cracker salad, but it's really just cracker salad. And it's the same deal. It's nothing but, mayonnaise, a hard boiled egg, a big old summer tomato, and some green onions. You cut it all up and then you crush a sleeve of saltine soda crackers up in it.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
delicious. I mean, it's just using simple homegrown, if you've got a garden,
Yeah,
basic, easy ingredients, leftovers, using what you've got in just a creative way that, you
yeah.
know, you think you're eating like high on the hog.
High on the hog.
And it's all just stuff you had left over.
You got to dress it up. You don't know. The kids probably like, oh, this is the best thing. Look,
Yeah.
so how has your Appalachian heritage shaped your cooking style and the content that you put out on your YouTube channel?
Well, right there, that's it. Like I said, back generations, we're not farmers. My dad was not a farmer. His dad was not necessarily a farmer once he came out of the cove working with his dad, but you're instilled with those meals because
Yeah,
that's what they've been eating. So
yeah,
that is what we just keep on passing down and loving. And the memories and the taste, like you can taste the memories. It
yeah,
takes you back.
yes, yeah,
So that is Appalachian cooking to me, is the memories that go along with every meal. And I've loved getting to have my mom and dad come over and film some things. Got dad
mhm,
doing cornbread and, them sharing the memories. He talked about on an episode where I was doing some biscuits and I had a little can like of evaporated milk
mhm,
that he had made me a biscuit cutter out of that can because he said he's 70s now. And can my dad afford a biscuit cutter? Yes, my dad can afford a biscuit cutter, but he had the memory of his mom making biscuits, and she had that little evaporated milk can. So one day he was retired and he was bored. He just started collecting cans, and he would make the little like holes at the top so it
uh-huh,
wouldn't suction, it'd come
yep,
off. And honey, I had so many people that resonated with them.
yeah,
And he was just sharing that memory. And I had people comment, and I said, you know what? I've got a bunch of cans here and I'm going to have dad make them. And like a giveaway, you would think that
mm.
I was giving away Amazon gift cards. People wanted, I was like, I'll pick randomly here and I'll send you a can homemade.
There you go. All right, so now I'm gonna go back and watch that episode. Do you remember the first thing you ever cooked on your own, and who taught you how to cook that?
Okay, this is the funny thing about all of this is I didn't know how to cook anything. My mom did everything. Us kids, it's what Appalachians call runt. She runt us. She did everything. And mama worked too. Once me and my brother were up in school, she worked in the school cafeteria
Uh-huh.
and then she worked another place later. But she did everything. And I'm not saying I was lazy now. I'm not saying that.
She's like,
But
I'm just clarifying here. I'm not saying that.
I I appreciated her. But in high school, I was just not interested. I wasn't interested in that. And I worked. I always worked. I had two different sets of brothers that I babysat in the summers. And as soon as I turned like 15 years old, I got a job at the grocery store. That's where I met my husband. I think it's funny. Our whole life is like revolved around food. That's where we met at after school job. And I was in a lot of extracurricular stuff in school. Mom and dad always made sure that we got to do anything we wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was good because through all those extracurricular things I did in school, I went right into a great job out of school.
yeah,
So, anyway, long story short, I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to cook anything. So, this whole process for me, when we first got married, we ate a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers, but probably the first like real creation I put together, and it would have been my mom that helped me again, and Chef Boyardee, the raviolis, because we ate a lot of Chef Boyardee raviolis too. Me and Patrick did, but I made a ravioli casserole with canned Chef Boyardee raviolis, couple cans of that, some ground beef that I cooked up with some onion and some Italian seasoning. I put it all in casserole dish and put some cheese on it, and that was my first real thing.
you were living like kings and queens.
Yes. But honestly, My mom, she had to like reteach me or teach me really everything,
Yeah, yeah,
once. And when, like I said, we first got married and I worked a full time job after my first daughter was born, my mom was not working anymore. And she and my mother in law took care of her while me and my husband worked. And that was such a blessing. I always wanted to be at home and I found that I loved it. I
yeah,
always knew that I would.
yeah,
But that's when I got into like, you know, I have the time now.
yeah.
And so even though I felt like I had a lot of time, I didn't with a newborn and a 6 or 7 year old.
I
So,
know the feeling.
but yeah, I just kind of like got into the homemaking then.
Yeah.
And so that's when I really started getting into learning to cook.
So I know you would say that cooking for others is your love language.
Yes.
So can you share a memory where a meal truly brought your family together?
I have really, when I think back over specific meals, it's never the food, but it's always the people that are there.
Yes.
And for for me, every Sunday my mom has dinner after church. I see my mom during the week. We live close. My brother, he does not live far away, but he and his wife work. And honestly, if my mom didn't set aside that time on Sundays, I may not see my brother for weeks
Yeah.
just because the nature of life
Yeah.
is busy. So I love Sunday. We call it Sunday dinner at Granny's because that's what we call my mom is Granny. And I always will try to post my plate on Instagram.
Yeah.
People love that, what Granny cooked today. So that's always a very special. Get to see my brother and his wife and my nephew and my kids are there and now we've got a son-in-law and mom and dad. But also the holidays are special. Um, Easter, Thanksgiving, and like I said, it's not the food, but as we get older, we lose loved ones, but
Yeah.
we add them. We add new ones in too. And we've been blessed with our family. Um, I have known my husband since we were married 32 years this
Oh,
May.
congratulations.
Thank you. But I've known him since I was probably 16 years old. So our family is not yours and mine. We
Right.
can have a big get together and we have both sides, an extended family, and love it, love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's those spontaneous meals. We're within my own little family, we're trying to instill like a Thursday night dinner night
Uh-huh.
since my kids are getting older and they're, making their own families now. So come back to my house now on Thursday. And, it's just the spontaneous things, the
Yeah.
conversations, the games and
And all,
laughs.
and all that comes with it. Can you tell us about a moment you realized that you wanted to share your love of cooking with the world through YouTube? Like, what was that decision like, and how did you go about it?
I guess I probably started watching YouTube for cooking and
Uh-huh.
stuff when I started staying at home more. But I felt like the things that people were seeing on YouTube, it was unrelatable.
Uh-huh.
And it made it really hard. Like I'm not a chef, you know. I'm not a chef. And I don't have those foods. I don't even know what to do with those foods or those tools or.
Yeah.
And I was like, the things that my mom was telling me, like the way that she did things with shortcuts and such simplicity that once my oldest daughter left home and she went away to school, of course, she wanted to make some things that we had at
Yeah.
home. Trying to tell her over the phone, it was like, be a lot easier just to show you. And she was kind of like me. She was real active in high school, and I'm glad because it paid for her college.
Yeah.
but but she also did not really learn to do much for me either. So that was kind of what I thought, I could document these meals that they love on YouTube. And then I just found out after doing it for, I thought, I'm just going to, see all these things on here about people making, building these channels. And I was like, I believe I could do that. I'm going to post a video every week. And I did. I
Uh-huh.
just stuck to it. And I didn't realize the community that it was going to bring that really had nothing to do with the food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, man, what can you do with cooking?
Yeah.
That reach you just don't realize, we know within our own families how important it is for, to connect over a meal, but it's like, man, you can connect with people all over
Yeah.
and they show up week after week for how they feel.
Mm.
And that's special to me. And I think
I
that's
love
kind of
that.
special about YouTube too.
And I think it goes back to what you said earlier. It's not really about the food. It's about the people that you get to share with, and that's community too. It's
Yeah.
within the community, but now you have a community through your YouTube audience. And I'm sure that they also feel a connectedness to the other people who watch the show because they're all making, if they're trying the recipe, they're all making it in their own homes. And then that way they're connected in community as well. And that's a powerful thing.
Yeah, it is. And the people that watch, the audience, they talk to one another in the comments too.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
talk to me, but they talk to each other too. And I love that. They pray for one another, they share the things that's
Wow.
going on.
Yeah.
I love that. Love that
That's
about
sweet.
YouTube.
I love that too. A lot of what your website says, quick and easy. So what
Mhm.
does quick and easy really mean in your kitchen? Because quick and easy in my kitchen is DoorDash or so what does that mean to you? And how do you balance simplicity with flavor?
Yes. Well, quick and easy sometimes means pizza night to me too. And I always say that there's nothing wrong with that. That's real life. We can plan all kinds of things, but what actually happens is not always that.
Thank you.
But quick and easy to me, that meant building a working pantry. And I've always encouraged people when I first started YouTube, I shared a lot of grocery hauls. And I'm trying to bring those back maybe every other month
Uh-huh.
so people can see, this is how I shop. I buy what I'm actually going to use when it's on sale and stock up. Then I'm not paying full price when I
Yeah.
need something. I've already
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Because if you do start a working pantry, and I'm talking about things like seasonings, it's amazing what salt and pepper does for food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just salt and pepper. But, Italian seasoning, just the basic garlic powder, onion powder, those things. And things like canned tomatoes, tomato paste, tomato sauces, canned meats. And of course, if you got, good size freezer, you can keep ground beef and chicken. You keep canned vegetables, canned beans, and those seasonings, flour, cornmeal, milk, eggs. You could go in and even things that, finding unexpected ways to use things like Bisquick.
Uh-huh.
It's not just for pancakes. You can make like a pot pie with things.
Mhm.
Just basic store brand. That's another money saving thing that I always like to show is I don't always buy the name brand products.
Uh-huh.
Um, but that's things that I could know that I can go in and I can have a can of chicken, a can of mixed vegetables, maybe a cream of chicken soup, and some chicken bouillon, and I can pull those things out, and I can put a chicken pot pie together in
Yeah.
20 minutes,
Yeah.
any night of the week, and not have to go to the store.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what quick and easy is to me. Those
There you
go-to meals that you have things on hand any given time, you could go and do that.
So, what are some of your favorite go-to pantry staples? You just mentioned having a working pantry that help you whip up meals on busy nights.
Yeah, it's the basics, like I said, sugar, flour, cornmeal. I like to keep also little convenience things like, Jiffy corn
Oh, mhm.
muffins. You can do so much with that. And I like to have all the different like mixed vegetables, canned corn, canned green beans, and you just don't have to have them on the side. You can stretch a meal by adding corn to it.
Yeah.
Especially Tex-Mex kind of meals and
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Throw a can of corn and a can of black beans in something and it'll stretch out.
Yeah.
All the canned tomato products and canned meats,
Mhm.
canned chicken and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tell me, how do you stay inspired when you're creating new recipes while keeping them accessible for families that may have limited time and always limited budget? So
Yes.
how do you keep your creative juices going?
Well, I just like everybody, seems like I'm getting busier and busier myself. So necessity is the mother of invention.
Well said.
Yeah, so I try to show a little bit of like preparation, how a
Mhm.
little bit of preparation can really put you ahead for the week. I love the rotisserie chickens, and
Uh-huh.
those are fairly budget friendly, but I don't know that you can use always your assistance like your benefit cards
Yeah.
with stuff like that. So I like to show people how you could take a couple of chicken breasts and put them in the crock pot and cook them up, and then you'll have that chicken ready for recipes.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, cooking that part of something. Because, if you've got to, even sometimes just having the time to brown a pound of ground beef
Right.
after a long day, it's like, no, I can't even do it.
I
Can't
can't
even brown this pound of beef. Don't have it in me.
even.
That's just the truth. So, trying to do that. And I mentioned, my mom works in our church's food pantry. So a lot of times I'll know what kind of things they're putting in those boxes. So I try to find new ways to use those things, like the pancake mixes and that kind of stuff. I kind of like, what the basics are that people are getting. Let's find, if you just give somebody a box of food that doesn't know how to cook, they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
You could
Right.
take this item and put it together with this item.
Yeah.
So I
I
try to
love
do a lot of that.
I love that. That's so sweet. And then like supporting the ministry and the work that your mom does too,
Yeah.
and helping the people in the community. That you're right. You could have a box of things, but if it's 10 ingredients and you don't know how to put them together to make a meal, maybe you just end up just opening the can of green beans and eating the green beans. Whereas if you had put
Yeah.
it with the black beans or something, you could make a different kind of meal. So I love that you are like having a visionary to be able to say, hey, I can do some videos to help people to maximize in what they're getting in the box. And then they can really also feel like they are making a meal and that they're not like just having the staples, but the
Yeah.
staples can go together to make a meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've built a strong community. We just talked about the community that you built on YouTube and how they not only comment and talk to you, but they talk to one another. They pray for each other, which I think is super sweet. What's one piece of feedback or a story from a viewer that really touched your heart in the time that you've had your YouTube channel?
um, there's so many, so very many. And I guess one that really sticks out to me is a young lady who said she didn't have the best childhood.
Yeah.
She said, I didn't ever have the best childhood. I didn't have, um, the encouragement, didn't have the nurturing, anybody to teach the skills. And she said, I just take you as my mom. And I thought, well, honey, I
Oh.
just take you too.
I think I
And
want to take her too. Oh my gosh, that's so sweet.
yeah, and to know that, it doesn't matter what I'm cooking. It's like you said, it's the connection. There's something about people coming together over food, whether it's in person or virtually.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me they love the food, but said, I look forward to your videos because
Mhm.
it lifts my spirits.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are just looking for that connection. and I love that. They watch for encouragement, and I love to laugh, and I don't cut out mistakes. you know. So I hope that they always say, I hope that you leave feeling encouraged and you've laughed and you're glad that you watched.
Amen. I love that. I love it. Okay, so you said the Lord gives us gifts to encourage others. You just talk about sharing your faith. How has your faith guided your journey as a content creator?
I could not do it without him. That is
Yeah.
100% for sure. I mean, I had to learn a lot of things to get started. And without the good Lord, just leaning on him. And like I said, I have been able to share what he's done for me. I've been able to give my testimony. What other place could you put that out there?
Well, we're getting close to the end of our conversation today. And so I have just been so encouraged. Lots of fun. I had to check out your YouTube channel. Hope other people who are listening to the podcast today will also check it out. We'll give them the links and things in the show notes so they can easily find it. But as we wrap up, I wanted to talk a little bit about hope. Hope is a word that I hang on to a lot. What gives you the most hope about the future of Appalachia?
I just go back to seeing just a few months ago when we had those devastating floods in Upper East Tennessee, and we weren't the only place that was affected. But when you think about hope, how everybody comes together, our part of East Tennessee was not affected by those floods. It was north of us, but the people in our area sent so much help. All the people in the region helped one another. And I think the whole country seeing that, how I think that's just the nature of the Appalachian spirit is we are going to take care of each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
We have our hope and our faith in God, and we have our hope and our faith in our fellow brothers and sisters. We're going to take care of one another.
yeah.
And that gives me hope for the future. And that's going to
Yeah.
continue, and
I
other people will see that. And the love for people that comes from the love of God in each one of us. We want to help other people and do what we can. I think a lot of stereotypes that are out there of people that are, Appalachian, or in our area, they call them hillbillies or whatever. But I tell you, you won't find any finer people. They would give you the shirt off their backs. They just would. I wish that everybody could feel that. The people of Appalachian, they're very accepting of one another.
I have certainly found that to be true in our work, in Eastern Kentucky, where Christian Appalachian Project serves as they would. You're right. They would just give you the shirt off your back. Even when you go to provide help, they'll be like, "No, my neighbor needs help down the road." You're sitting here looking at them. Their house has been flooded, but they're saying, "No, go help my neighbor." Just always willing to put others first. It's very real. What a great segue into our last question. We always ask our guests this question, and so we talk about the mission of Christian Appalachian Project. Our mission statement is building hope, transforming lives, and sharing Christ's love through service. So when you think of your work and the core values of hope, transformation, love, and service, which one resonates with you the most deeply and why?
I guess it just has to be love. We have the love of Christ in us. It helps us love other people, and the love gives us hope. The love causes us to do
Yeah.
the services and the help, and anything we can to help people to transform. And it transforms us.
Yeah,
It does. I think without, says
absolutely.
the greatest of these is love, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. And I mean, they're all we could
Oh,
we
you
can't
gotta
have any of
preach.
them without love. And I always, end my segments or my videos with say, I send you love from my kitchen. I have a lot of hearts on in the artwork on my stuff,
Yeah.
but I do, love people, love God, and love others.
There you go. What a great way to end the show. Love it. As we wrap up this special episode of the Mountain Spirit, we're reminded that food is more than just nourishment. Food is a way to show love. It preserves heritage. It builds connections. Mama's Mel story is a beautiful reflection of that truth. It's rooted in Appalachian tradition and seasoned with faith, family, and heart. Her message reminds us that simple, affordable meals can be a powerful thing. We hope this conversation leaves you inspired to make your kitchen a place of comfort and connection. And maybe, just maybe, try one of Mel's recipes tonight. I am so grateful to have had this conversation today. Melonie, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
so
on the
much
show
for having
today.
me. It's been a just an honor um, to speak with you. It's been an honor to get to learn more about the Christian Appalachian Project, and I cannot wait to share this with all of my viewers so they can learn about the good work, the great work that you guys are doing. I have a lot of viewers all over, but I have a lot in Kentucky too. So hopefully a lot of them already know, but I can't wait to share with the ones that haven't heard.
Well, thank you so much. Our guest today has been Melonie Effler, affectionately known as Momma Mel. She is a proud East Tennessean, a passionate home cook, and a YouTube creator. We hope you've enjoyed the show today and you'll check out our episodes in future seasons. Tell your friends to check us out too. You can follow the work of Christian Appalachian Project on all social media channels. You can also find the podcast at wearecap.org/podcast or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, you know what to do. Take a moment to leave us a review. We surely appreciate it. And be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. You all know this wraps up season 8. What an awesome season we've had. We're so grateful to Melonie for being on our show today. We will kick off season 9 in November. In the off season, I invite you to listen to past episodes and we will shout out a few of our favorites as well. Thank you for joining us for another season of the Mountain Spirit Podcast. We'll see you next season.